In a night that will forever be etched into baseball history, the stadium lights burned brighter than ever, and every camera lens was fixated on one man, Shohei Ohtani. The crowd was already electric from the first pitch, but no one could have predicted the jaw-dropping moment that was about to unfold. As the game reached its tense middle innings, a murmur began to spread through the stands. Then, like something straight out of a dream, Ohtani emerged from the dugout and started walking toward the mound. The entire stadium froze. You could almost hear the collective heartbeat of thousands waiting to see if what they were witnessing was real. He wasn't scheduled to pitch. Everyone knew that. The lineup had been announced, the rotation fixed. Ohtani was not supposed to be anywhere near the mound tonight. But as he crossed that chalk line, glove in hand and fire in his eyes, the disbelief melted into roaring cheers. Fans jumped from their seats, phones raised, as broadcasters screamed in shock. Something magical was happening, something even the most loyal Ohtani supporters couldn't have seen coming. Ohtani stood tall at the mound, taking a deep breath as he looked around at the sea of flashing lights. His teammates were as stunned as the fans. The opposing dugout was silent, eyes wide. Was this a publicity stunt? A substitution error? Or was this the return of the two-way legend in a moment no one expected? Ohtani didn't say a word, he simply began warming up, throwing a few test pitches that cut through the night air like lightning bolts. Each one echoed off the backstop with the distinct pop that fans knew too well. It wasn't just any warm-up. There was something emotional about it. Every motion, every flick of his wrist seemed charged with meaning. After missing several pitching opportunities earlier in the season due to tight restrictions, fans wondered if this was Ohtani's personal declaration, that he was ready, that his arm still had fire. The stadium announcer hesitated before calling his name. And when he finally did, the reaction was explosive. The entire crowd, from the front row to the nosebleeds, erupted in pure, unfiltered joy. The moment he threw that first official pitch, the stadium went completely silent, as if time itself had stopped to witness it. The ball sliced through the air, clocked at 98 miles per hour. The batter didn't even swing. The umpire called a strike, and the sound of the crowd returned in a wave so deafening that even Ohtani himself cracked a small, humble smile. That pitch wasn't just a strike, it was a message. Ohtani was back, and he was back on his own terms. Even his teammates couldn't contain their awe. The catcher jogged out to the mound, perhaps asking if this was really happening, and Ohtani nodded, calm and composed. In that single gesture, every baseball fan watching, whether in Japan, America, or anywhere around the world, felt the same goosebumps. This was Ohtani reminding everyone why he is not just an athlete but a phenomenon. Every pitch that followed seemed to tell its own story. The second one, a perfectly placed splitter, dropped so sharply that it made the batter stumble forward. The third, a blistering fastball, blew past the plate before anyone could blink. Within moments, he had struck out the first hitter he faced. The crowd chanted his name, wave after wave of Ohtani. Ohtani, echoing through the stadium rafters. It was more than baseball, it was a cinematic moment unfolding live. What made this even more surreal was the timing. The team didn't need him to pitch. They were leading comfortably, and there was no strategic reason for this move. That's what made it so pure. It wasn't about stats or strategy. It was about passion, about the love of the game that burns. Deep inside players like Ohtani, who don't just play baseball, they live it. The commentators were speechless. One of them simply muttered, "We're witnessing something we'll never forget." Another whispered, "He didn't have to do this." But he did. For the fans. On social media, clips spread like wildfire. Within minutes, Ohtani was trending globally, with fans posting reactions, disbelief, and tears of joy. Some even compared the moment to Babe Ruth's most iconic days, calling it the rebirth of baseball's magic. As Ohtani completed the inning, 3 up, 3 down, the energy inside the ballpark was unlike anything ever felt before. His teammates surrounded him in the dugout, laughing, cheering, patting him on the back, while the opposing team watched respectfully, acknowledging the greatness they had just witnessed. He didn't celebrate excessively, he just sat down quietly, took off his cap, and sipped water like it was just another day. That humility, that calm confidence, only deepened the fans' admiration. What many didn't know at the time was that Ohtani had been silently preparing for this. Reports later revealed he had been lobbying with the coaching staff for weeks, promising he was ready to throw again. But no one thought it would happen tonight. His teammates reportedly had no idea either. The entire move was decided within minutes, after Ohtani told his manager between innings, "Let me take the mound." The manager hesitated but finally nodded, saying, "If anyone can do it, it's you." When asked after the game why he did it, Ohtani's answer was simple: "I missed it." Those 3 words summed up everything. The fans missed it too, the sight of their hero dominating both sides of the game, the dual talent that has redefined what's possible in modern baseball. His eyes, glistening under the lights, said more than any press conference could. Throughout the night, fans stayed glued to their seats long after the final out. No one wanted to leave. The stadium screens replayed the moment he stepped onto the mound over and over, each time drawing fresh cheers. Outside, crowds gathered around the exits, chanting his name long into the night. Even hours later, the buzz didn't fade. Reporters called it a spontaneous masterpiece, and commentators agreed this was baseball at its most beautiful. What made it truly special wasn't just that Ohtani pitched, it was the emotion behind it. He reminded everyone that sometimes, greatness isn't planned. Sometimes, it happens when passion meets opportunity. It was the kind of moment that transcends the game, touching even those who don't follow baseball. Back in Japan, fans watching live broadcasts erupted in joy, flooding social media with messages of pride and love. In Los Angeles, where the game took place, it felt like a festival. People were dancing in the concourses, waving Japanese flags, and shouting, "Shohei forever." One fan held up a sign that perfectly captured the mood: "This is why we believe." By the next morning, major sports outlets around the world had dedicated their front pages to Ohtani's surprise appearance. Analysts debated the implications. Was this a sign that he'd return full-time to pitching soon? Was this a message to the league that he's ready for the next phase of his career? But for most fans, it wasn't about the future. It was about that moment. The moment when Ohtani, unannounced and unstoppable, walked to the mound and reminded the world why he's the heart of baseball today. As footage circulated online, fans replayed every second: the way he adjusted his cap, the rhythm of his breath before the pitch, the smile that broke through when he heard his name echo. It was cinematic perfection. Some even said it felt like watching a movie. Except it was real. In a sport often bound by schedules, rules, and expectations, Ohtani shattered all of them in one night. He turned an ordinary game into a once-in-a-lifetime experience. His spontaneous appearance on the mound wasn't just about showing skill, it was about showing soul. And as the crowd finally filed out into the night, there was a shared understanding among everyone who had witnessed it: they had just seen something that generations will talk about. The legend of Shohei Ohtani had grown once again, not through records or statistics, but through the raw, unpredictable magic that makes baseball the beautiful game it is. In the quiet after the celebration, as the stadium lights dimmed, the camera caught one last image of Ohtani walking off the field, glove under his arm, looking up at the stands. It was a simple gesture, a silent thank you to the fans who have supported him through every triumph and setback. And in that moment, as cheers still echoed in the distance, one thing became clear: Shohei Ohtani didn't just play the game that night. He brought it back to life.